So welcome to the third model under data wrangling. Now in this model, we are going to talk about how you handle missing values, duplicate cases, and then we also actually start with the transformation. So the handling of missing values and then duplicate cases, they are actually under tidying, and then we also include some aspect of the transformation, that is renaming, and then the other core deploy R verbs. So missing values, as I said, can provide information. They can also be non-information. So there are three principal strategies. Either you delete them, either you input. Imputation means you replace them with something, or you leave them as as they are. So the deletion removes everything. So it means that if a row, in a particular column, there is a missing, you can decide to remove that particular, all those missing values, for the entire cases, in the analysis. Or you can replace it with any number or any character of your choice. So that is also another way. And then, or you can also keep it as it is. So if you want to, so this is handling missing values. If you want to, first let's talk about removing. So removing missing values, that is the NA. So let's go back to our WHO data. So this WHO data that we did here, the WHO 3, where we pivoted long and so on. You can see that if you run it here, let me rerun this. So let me run it. If I rerun it, you can see a whole lot of yes. So you can see a whole lot of WHO 3 I've already studied. So this, look at the values here. You see a whole lot of NA, and so on. So you can remove all these values. You can remove all these values. I usually have to be careful when you are doing it. So now let's go back to our flies data, which we already did the checking on. So let's say I want to remove every missing value in it. We just use drop underscore NA. So drop underscore NA will remove every column, every row that has at least a missing value. So every row that has a missing value be removed. Okay, so that is it. So when you do this, it means that you are going to be assured that if you actually do any of the checks, you do core sums, core means, you are going to get all of them to be 0. Now sometimes you may want to just remove not every row, but per particular variable. So if, let's say, you want to drop all the NAs for, let's say, the arrival delay. So it means that whenever any case reports doesn't report the arrival delay, you think that it's a mistake and that record should be taken out. So that is that you just put that particular variable in there and then run it. So in this case, what happens is that it is possible that you are going to get some other variables also still having an NA, but for the arrival delay, you are sure that it's not going to have any in it. Okay. Now, the next thing is the replacement. Now, the replacement, first you have to think about what do you want to use to replace the NA. So most times people use mean, other people use median, and in terms of characters, people can maybe replace it with any other thing. So let's say I want to replace the I want to replace the what do you call it, the departure delay, the departure delay with the mean of the departure delay. If I want to replace the departure delay with the mean of the departure delay, so first what I do is that I have to find, so let me call it average, average here, average, and then, or I mean any name that you want to assign to it, and then that will be the mean of the departure delay. So that will be the flight, and then I'll subset the departure flight, okay, and I'll subset the departure delay, and then I say na.rm is equals to true, because this time we are sure that the na.rm is actually what do you call it, I mean there are missing values there. So in this case, if I want to replace the the departure delay with this time, so what I do is I just call the flight and then I pipe it. Now what I do is that, because I am creating I don't actually want to replace it, but please don't replace the old one. So first let's say departure delay, let's call the departure delay and then so departure delay, and then let me call it cc maybe as a claim, and then it's equals to, so I'm replacing, so whenever you want to replace it, replace na, so the drop na drops it, the replace na replaces it. So replace na, then the name of the variable, which is the departure delay, and whatever you want to replace with it. So that is the average, the value that you have computed. Make sure that you have already run this, then you run this. So once you run this, once you run this, then you are going to create a new variable. You are going to create a new variable which will actually have this departure delay cc, and all the missing values will be actually stored in it. So you can decide to maybe, so in order to be sure, let's so let me call it this flight 1, and then assign it to this, then run. So if I should take a glimpse of this flight 1, so you can see that the departure delay cc has been created here, and every time the departure delay is missing, it will actually replace it with the mean. You can actually see it if you view it and you go through it, and obviously if you check for the missing values, you will see that this departure delay cc doesn't have any missing values. Okay, so that's how you replace. So if you want to replace it, if it is a character and you want to replace it, all you have to do is, instead of this average, you just put the character there. So for instance, the flight tail number. So if you can see that the flight tail numbers have been given, so if you want to replace that the flight tail number by any character, all you do is, you know how to type characters, so you put it in quotation and then put put it there. Now if you want it, the original column or the original variable to be replaced with the new one, then when you are doing this, you do this mutate, you type the same name. So here if I type departure delay is equals to this, it is not going to create a new variable, it is going to replace the old one. Okay, so that is for replacement. That is for replacement. Now you can, like I said, you can also decide to keep it as it is. You can also decide to keep it as it is. So if you want to remember in R, it is only NA that are identified as missing. So that's why when we are reading the data using the read underscore CSV, you have to tell all the various codes that are missing. So once you do that, it means that whether the original data gave it 999, 99, or whatever, it will automatically convert it to any. So you don't have to be doing any changes here and there. Okay. So once you want it maintained the same way, it means you don't need these two steps that we actually talked about. So this part is when you want to replace it, that is do the imputation. So imputation or replacement. Okay. All right. So that is how you handle missing values. Now let's then move to duplicate values. Duplicate values are values where the rows are basically repeated. The same observation has been recorded more than once. So if you want to check whether there's duplicate values or not, you can use the sum. You can sum. We use duplicated. So duplicated is the what we use for duplicate values or not. So once you do this, you are going to get so 0. So 0, this 0 here means that there is no duplicate values in the entire data. If there are duplicate values, you will see that it is going to sum the rows that are duplicated, and then you get the number of rows that have been duplicated, and you can actually go ahead and then check it. Okay. Okay. So if you also want you don't want the duplicated values, but you want to remove all duplicated values. So this one checks for duplicate values. So checks duplicate rows. Now, if you want to remove duplicate rows, then in that one we use what we call the extent. So the extent, yes, the extent, and then once you say the extent and then flight, it is going to keep all the rows that are extent. It will remove all the duplicate rows, and you'll be left with only the unique rows. You'll be left with the unique rows. Okay. Now remember, what you mean by the extent here is that every record in the row, I mean, is the same. If they are all the same, that's when you say it's duplicated. But you can in certain data, we can only identify duplicate by certain maybe records or certain columns, maybe 3 or 4 columns, and you can use that to detect that it's a duplicate what you call value. Because if, let's say, you are dealing with maybe what you call students, and students, you are not expecting that their ID numbers and maybe for instance the time that they wrote the exam or something, it's not supposed to be the same. Once you see that, because you can't have the same student writing the exam at the same time, it can be recorded twice. A student cannot divide himself into 2 and write exam at the same time. So in that case, you can use these variables to actually check for the duplicate values. You will say you should check throughout the rows and then determine whether it's a duplicate value or not. So in that case, if you want to do that, then so checking duplicates by specific or certain columns. Okay. So in that case, you call the data, so the flight, then you pipe it, and then it's the same extent. It's the same extent, and then the name of the variable that you think are actually supposed to determine whether it is distinct or not. So let me call the carrier the flight number, the flight number, and then the year, the month, and then the day. Yes, but all these things will determine whether it is distinct or not, because we can have the same carrier, the same flight, and maybe to 2025 on a day it can take off, and then another year it can also take off. So we can't use just the year and the day, or the month and the day, because in different years we can have the same month and day combination. But when you put all this together, we can't have the same flight that is actually taking off the same year, the same day, and so on. So this is what you are actually going to do. But what the very important thing is, you have to include the keep all and then say it's true, so that it will keep every other what you call variable that is in the data. So once you run this, you are going to get only the values that are not duplicated by these columns that are selected, these 5 columns that are selected. So that's how you deal with duplicate values, or you remove the duplicate values. Okay. You can also do this by using the filtering. So you can basically check whether we have this combination of variables in the data at all. But why check if you can just remove it and then so if you want to check, that's why you use a group by. But since we talk about the group by later on, that is why the slide is there. You can check the other way of doing that. Remember, that one only checks for it, but this one removes it automatically for you. So if your aim is to remove it, obviously that is how you do it. Okay, now so this what actually talks about the tidy. So that completes the tidy. Now we move to the transformation. So transforming data. So in this particular case, we are going to talk about some some of the main things of to do when you want to quickly transform a data. So we are going to talk about how you rename columns. Maybe the column names, you don't like how departure time, scheduled departure time, all those things, you don't like how it is spelled. You want to spell it in your own way so you can easily identify them. You learn about recoding, how you recode. Remember, in the base you can use the if and then the else if conditional statement to do recoding. Here you can easily do the recoding here, and it's so simple. We will learn how we can create new variables. Of course, we have already started here, but we will basically learn how you do that, and then we'll learn about the 6 main which is filtering, mutating, and then filtering, mutating, selecting, arranging, and then grouping by, and then summarizing. So these 6 things are things that you cannot do away with. So let's quickly start with the renaming. So the renaming is so simple. If you want to change the names of columns, so change column names. You want to change column names. So you use the rename. So first you call the name of the data as usual, you type it, and then you can say rename, as simple as that. Then the name of the old data, and then yes, the new name that you want. Sorry. So the new. So if maybe you want to type the full arrival time, so the R time you don't like it, so you want arrival time. That is what you want. So you can say arrival time should be equals to the R time. And then of course you can add more and more to it if you if you think you want to add more. So you can do comma departure time is equals to depth time, so on. So that is basically how you rename. So you can see that if you compare this to the first one, this is the name. The second one, this is how the name has been changed. You can add more and more to it. The next is the so apart from renaming, yes, then we have recoding. We have recoding. So what recoding does is it simply substitute what do you call it, a defined set using an old range or something. That is what the recoding does. So if you want to recode, it is simple. We use the same thing, recode. So if I want to recode, so recoding, if I want to recode, I just call the name of the data like we've been doing all this time. Then I pipe it and I say recode. Recode, then the first is the name of the variable that you want to recode. So let's say I want to recode, but remember the recode here is used for characters. We use the recode for characters, strings. But if you want to recode for numerics, that one we prefer the mutate and then the case when. Prefer the case when to do recording. So if you want to recode characters, that's where you use the recode command. So recode and then the name of the variable. So in this case, I think if you look at the glimpse, I think the if you go back and check the glimpse of the flight, you can see that the characters so we also have the origin, we also have the career and so on. But you usually record when the distinct values are few. If there are many, it is so difficult to record, so don't even bother doing it. So career, and then you can basically name them. So if maybe you want America Airlines, you want to give it a name. The Delta Airlines, you want to give it a name. Or you can see that in the career they've actually done UA, AA, B6, DL. They actually have their names. So the UA is the United Airlines, the B6 is the JetBlue airline. So in your data you don't want this, because if you are reporting DL, UA and so on, maybe that is not that doesn't really read properly. So you want this kind of what do you call it, grouping. Yes, so you want said that the AA will be American Airline, you want the DL to be Delta Airline and so on. So you recode this. So I'm coming. Oh, sorry. I think I didn't use the right here. So, like I said, anytime that you want to change the name of a variable, you use the mutate, and then this recode is supposed to come within the mutate. So the mutate is for creating a new variable. So we have to actually give it a new, but this time, in order to confirm that when you put the original, the old name, it will replace it. So I don't want to create a new variable, but I'm just saying that the career should be replaced with this. So once I do that and run, yes, so I'm going to get a new variable here, and Of course, the career doesn't really come, but if we are to save this, so let me save this as flight 2. Let me say this as flight 2. And then cut the glimpse of it, and then you will see that okay, so this time let's go to the career. So you can see that the career, the old one was UA, ASU, and so on. You can see it has been replaced with United Airlines, so that when they are doing any summary on it, this is what will pop up, not UA and DL and so on. So please, anytime you want to do a recoding, the first line is mutate. The mutate is basically creating a new variable. Mutate is what we use in creating a new variable. Then the name of the new name that you want to give to a variable, and then the recode. Recode, like I said, is for string. Okay, but what if you want to actually recode what do you call it? You want to recode numerics. So if you want to record the numerics this time, let me quickly add this one to it. So let me continue here, and then so the same mutate, and then first the new name of the variable that you want. So you want to check the arrival. So let me say departure delay, the departure delay, but this time I want to call it departure delay severity. So how severe it is, and then I will then say case when. So for numeric we use case when. For string we use recode. So case when, then the first is when the departure delay. So I'm going to basically copy this, and then so let me make it arrival delay, because it was an arrival delay that so delay. Okay, so the arrival delay here, so case when the arrival delay is less than or equal to what am I missing? This. This. Okay, so if I have this, if I have this now, the last one, you can actually make it that the true is equal to severe. So the true is equal to severe basically means that, I mean, apart from whatever you have grouped here, so you are saying that when the arrival is less than or equal to 0, it means that there's no delay. If the arrival is less than or equal to 30, so once you have already done less than or equal to 0, it means that this is from 0 to 30. That is basically what we mean by mild delay. Then less than or equal to 120, it means from 30 to 120, that is when it is a moderate. But apart from this, any other thing you should consider it to be severe. So that is where the true comes in. But if you know the exact ranges, then you don't really need to bring the true. You can just write all the various ranges and then say it is severe, and then you quickly run it. So when you run this, you are going to get, so this time let's catch the glimpse of the flight 2, and then you can see the arrival delay severity here, and you can see mild, moderate, no delay, and so on, just as we wanted. Okay, so that is how you actually recode and rename. Now we then move to the 6 main deploy R verbs. So the 6 main deploy R verbs I talked about um, what do you call it? So the first deploy R verb that you need not forget is the first deploy R that you need not forget is filtering. So filtering. Now filtering is very important. But so let me break them down here. So 6 deploy R verbs. So they include this. Let me put this. So we have select, filter, select, filter, and then mutate, which I've already done. Then arrange and group by, group underscore by, and then summarize. The summarize, whether with the S or the Z, they all work. So whether you use the summarize, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yes. So these are the 6 main, and these things, as for these verbs, you are going to be using them a lot from now on. Most of the things are going to be centered around here. So what does the select mean? The select is used to select variables. So if I should just call this and I say select, and then I choose some specific variable, so career, year, what do you call it? Let's say departure, delay. So what it means is that I'm basically only interested in these variables. So I'm basically subsetting. I'm subsetting the columns. So once I do this and then select, you can see a new data has come, but only with these 3 variables. So we use this to select columns. So select is for columns. You can also use things like starts with. So if maybe you are not sure, you can say select, and then inside it you can say starts with. So if you think that it should anything that starts with departure, so let me put this. So depth, anything that starts with depth, you should select it. So you can see it has selected the departure time and then the departure delay. Or if you can say contains, we have contains, we have ends with, and so on. So these are some of the vocabs that you can actually use. So starts with, ends with, contains. If you have any of this, you can actually use. Maybe you are not sure, but maybe you know that the variable name contains certain things. So you can just say select anything that contains, then in a bracket you put that string inside, and then it will select all those column names with that particular term for you. So I just demonstrated the start with. If you want the contains, just replace the start with contains. If you want ends with, just select the just replace the start with the ends with, and so on. So if maybe you want delay columns that have delay, you can just say ends with or contains delay. Usually I prefer the contains so that I can further trim it down. If you make it ends with and it happens to be somewhere in the middle, it becomes problematic. Okay, now the next is the mutate. Now the mutate is where what I've already talked about. So we can use the mutate to create code numeric variables or code categorical or what you call strings. The mutate can be used for that, or characters. Now you can also use the mutate to compute variables. Yes. So let's say you have a case where maybe you want to combine the delay time and then the arrival time. So you can just call for the mutate. So mutate, and then a flight, and then let's say you say mutate, and then in the mutate you can say that maybe total delay, that is what you want to compute, and this total delay you are saying is the sum, should be the sum of the arrival delay plus the departure delay. Of course, you should remove any NA, so NA dot RM is equals to true, so that if one of them is what do you call it, missing, it will just ignore it. It won't, if you don't bring the NA dot RM, you are going to run into an error because some of them are missing. So once you do this, you are going to get a new variable that will talk about total delay time, where it will sum how much was delayed during the departure and how much was delayed during the arrival, and then so on. Yeah, so that is another way of also using the mutate. For instance, you have height, you have weight, you can create BMI by just calling the BMI formula and then doing it. Now in some books you will see another one that we call transmute, but the transmute is not something that I will recommend, because the transmute will delete all the rows, all the columns, all the variables, and only the one that you are computing will show. So if you, the mutate will still maintain the remaining the columns and then add whatever you are computing to it, but the transmute will actually forget about it, it won't do it. Okay, so then the next is filtering. So filtering is when you want to, this filtering focuses on rows. So this one is selecting rows. So selecting rows, that one we use for filtering. So let's say flight, and then you want to select the filtering. So you call for filter, and then whatever condition. So maybe you want to filter all cases where the delay time, you want to filter, so departure delays are greater than 0. So maybe you want to filter out only those cases where there were delays. So that is what you do. So departure is greater than 0. You can also do combine you remember the other cases. So maybe you want to combine a case where departure is greater than 0 and the arrival delay is also greater than 0. So this time you are combining two things, both cases where there were arrival delays and departure delays. So in all the cases, so the first one, you can see only 128,000 cases were like that, where there were departure delays. But when it comes to the both, you can see it has reduced to 92,000 delays. Yes, 92,000 cases where there were both arrival and departure delays. You can also say, or whether there is an arrival delay or departure delay, that's what you want to filter. So once you do that, it is going to take this thing out of this particular things out. Okay, so for other cases, you can also use what we call the percentage in. So especially when you are filtering, when you are filtering out certain ranges that you have no idea, maybe you don't want to type it. Let's say you want to filter a certain ranges. So for instance, if you want to filter out a case where the month, maybe you want to out the arrival time, and then you want a case where the month, let me check the month. Yes, it's a variable. So what you do is that you sandwich in double percent, in percentages. So you say month, percentage in, and then percentage, and then you call the range of values. So let's say you want cases where there were delays in January, February, and then March. Let's say the first quarter. So basically, you want delays during this part of the month, and then you subset. So this will give you the filtering. It will filter out the departure delays in this particular month. So I use all. So let me use N. So N means that both should actually occur, or means that any of them occurring. Yes. So this is actually the N is the right N. So this will actually give you the departure delays in these 3 months. When you are actually recoding, you can also use this. So for instance, maybe you want to recode that any month in this should be it should be, let's say it's a winter. So it's a winter season. So when it comes to the case when, we'll just say month in, month percentage in, and then percentage C, then the tilde, and then you can say winter. Then maybe another month, maybe 4, 5, 6, maybe spring, maybe month what you call 6, 7, 8, maybe summer, and then so on. Yeah. So when you this percentage in, percentage is a very important thing, and it should be your friend, but it makes the whole thing clean. You are just saying that every month that is recorded as this should be a part of whatever you want to subset. Okay. So this basically brings us to the end of this model, and in the next model we talk about joining of data and then string manipulation, and that will be the end of the data wrangling.